innovation is widely perceived as the facet which businesses require to achieve a greater means of growth. Joining me in the studio to discuss is Eric Roux. Eric, thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you for the invitation, Monica.
No problem at all. Now we're talking about innovation, and it's basically what businesses need to remain competitive, but there is this degree of regulation around which seems to be stifling growth. However, Switzerland has actually ranked first in terms of innovation, so could you tell us what sets it apart from some of the other countries which we're familiar with?
Well, Switzerland has a history of innovation. Most people probably wouldn't know that Velcro was invented in Switzerland, of all things. But all jokes aside, Switzerland has a very active life sciences sector, both corporates and research and development, with the EPFL and the ETH in Zurich. And what has been done with that is there's been a heavy exchange of knowledge and experience in academics, governments, and also corporates. So if you go down to Lausanne, what you'll find is there are a lot of research centers, there's an incubator, there are companies hosting the development of innovation and sponsoring many of the postgraduate students, but not exclusively. The end result of that is you have almost a captive economy, an ecosystem of financial services in Switzerland, wealth, family offices, wealth management, private equity, venture capital, and angel investors. And at the same time, you have a pool of opportunity that's coming up to invest, whether it's in medical sciences, biological sciences, clean technology, and technology and new materials. Now that's vital because today in financial services what you have is you have people needing to find places to invest where there's a reasonable return because interest rates are down, so they are taking more risk. So individuals are taking more risk. Wealthy individuals, family offices and others that have the capital to invest are putting the money into these investments. And that's what's really unique about the region, and it's not that well known, having spent many years working with the financial services companies across the region, but also wealth management in other locations like the UK and Benelux. It's very unusual for people to talk about how much is happening in the region, and it is locally as well very unusual. Some of us who have been here for a long time or have roots here are aware, and one of the important things I think is to create more awareness about it and the amount of opportunity that's there.
Now you mentioned just some of the trends there, but could we pick out and perhaps some more in the innovation industry that we're seeing or perhaps not seeing at the moment?
The challenge in the financial sector today is there's a bit of a two-edged sword. The financial sector needs to implement a lot of regulation. The list is really long. There's the Alternative Investment Fund Managers Directive. There's UCITS 5 after 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. There's Rubik's, there's FATCA. There's so much. It is preventing people from exploring what's new and what's possible. And I think you could find that and in some of the unregulated, well, not unregulated markets, but take Africa, for example. I was speaking to someone, a friend this weekend who's in financial services in the UK, and I asked him for examples of innovation, and he's active in very different places than me, and he said, well, Eric, think about it. Mobile technology, places like Africa have leapt ahead, skipping some of the fixed infrastructure changes. The same is happening in financial services. He gave me the example of how minutes on phones are being traded versus agricultural products. So people are trading minutes like a currency. So what you have is very interesting changes which are driven by people's needs. And if you take social, what are the big trends in technology today that are affecting all companies around the world?
Social media, I guess.
Social media, mobile devices, the cloud and analytics. And so those four components, the banks, it's essential for the banks to tap into that. It's essential for them to see what they can do with that. Mobile payments, you and I might want to trade securities, Forex, whatever it is, online. We might want to be able to pay with our phone. They need to be able to take the time and spend the money on this. And so you have a trade-off between innovating for your customers and accommodating regulation. So it's a real challenge to achieve both.
But could you tell me specifically some of the areas where innovation might be better used to its advantage, particularly perhaps in the financial sector?
One example where it's vital for I think the banks to spend time is on cloud technology. It's one of two actually, cloud and analytics. Let me start with the cloud. Very simply, the cloud is a mechanism which is allowing the financial services companies to convert fixed costs into variable costs. So you can pay as you go for software. You can have infrastructure that you only pay for what you use rather than building your own and having a team which manages that. So there's more flexibility, and there's the possibility of reducing some of the cost. And that's very important to tap into. And there are organizations in the region who provide that to some of the wealth managers and some of the independent asset managers, providing them the platforms they need so that they don't have to invest in that, given their ability to do so is limited. That's one possibility. The second is the analytics. The analytics is really interesting because managing a brand, a banking brand, managing information about clients' expectations and the changes in their attitudes vis-a-vis banks or vis-a-vis your services, that is what you can achieve with analytics, because with analytics and powerful automated tools, you can scour the internet, whether it's whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, whether it's other kinds of traffic, and find out what you need to know about trends that are changing how customers operate and what they want from you.
With that in mind, though, how can any challenges be overcome, and how do you see innovation developing over the future, would you say?
If you look in more detail at financial services and the kinds of innovations that are happening, you have crowdfunding. So if I come back to the ecosystem of finding money for new ventures, which is vital to create employment, to provide opportunities for young people, crowdfunding is actually raising money through the internet. So you have crowdfunding where if you have an idea and you want to raise $100,000, you put it on the internet and people will come on an internet site, and people will come to the site and they'll say, I'd like to invest in this, and then you will provide them something special in addition to delivering what you're going to deliver. That didn't exist before. It's like angel investors, private equity, VC. These things all developed at a certain point in time in history. And so even though there are some constraints, we're still seeing some change. Now the challenge for me is, what are the larger organizations going to be able to do to be as recognized as some of these trends that come through the generational change that's being impacted by the internet and some of the social media and the new technologies? How will the financial services organizations really take advantage of that? And what will they look like in 6-8 years' time compared to today? So it will absolutely change. It's just it's a very challenging time. If we had the prosperity that we had in the 90s and up until 2008, I think we would see a more significant change and quicker change in financial services.
Eric, thank you very much for your time. We could talk hours on end about this, I'm sure, but it's lovely hearing from you just now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica.
Well, that's all from Eric and myself at the moment. Later on, I have Jean-Francois back in the studio for our usual Monday interview, so please do click back for that. Bye for now.